The boat cut through grey water, its small engine coughing against the wind. Sarah leaned over the side, salt spray on her face. Behind her, Henry, Zach, Alex, and Maya argued over the cooler, laughing too loudly for the hour. They were young, loud, and sure the world was harmless. The old fisherman steering the boat didn't join in. His eyes stayed on the fog-covered horizon ahead. "You don't want to stay there after dark," he said suddenly. "The island listens. Sometimes it answers." Zach smirked. "You telling ghost stories now, old man?" The fisherman didn't smile. "I'm telling you to be gone by sundown." No one answered. The sea swallowed the sound of his voice, and the fog grew thicker. The island appeared like a bruise on the water, small, rocky, wrapped in crooked trees. A rusted sign leaned at the shore. "Keep out." Alex kicked it over and grinned. "Guess we're not welcome." The group hauled their tents and gear onto the sand. The air smelled wrong sweet and metallic, like rain on old blood. By afternoon, they had camp set up in a clearing near the trees. Maya wandered to the edge of the forest, camera in hand. The wind shifted, carrying a sound that froze her mid-step. It wasn't the usual rustle of leaves. It was whispering, soft, quick, layered like a dozen voices breathing at once. "Sarah," it said. Or maybe she imagined that. She backed away until the others called her over for pictures. Night came early. The fire burned low, throwing orange light onto their faces. "Cheers to Bloody Island," Zach said, raising a can. "Not haunted yet." The wind answered with a low sigh that made them all glance at the trees. Maya laughed nervously. "Okay, tell me none of you heard that." "Whined," Henry said, poking the fire. "Nothing else lives here." But Sarah noticed something. The trees swayed slightly, only not with the wind. They leaned, just a little, toward the fire. Inside her tent later, Sarah couldn't sleep. A faint breath touched her ear, followed by a whisper so close it chilled her spine. "Sarah!" She bolted upright. The tent walls shifted, shadows gliding across them. She grabbed her flashlight and unzipped the flap. Outside, the air was still. The forest stood silent. But halfway up one trunk, she saw the outline of a hand pressed against the bark. A moment later, it melted back into the wood. She didn't scream, just zipped the tent shut and waited for dawn. Morning brought grey skies and tension. Alex swore he heard footsteps around camp at night. Zach blamed raccoons. "On an island?" Sarah muttered. To shake off the nerves, they went exploring. The deeper they walked, the stranger the forest became. The trunks twisted together, roots tangled like veins. The air was thick, muffling their voices. "Hold up," Alex said. "Did we pass that tree before?" It looked the same wide base, gash down the center. Only now the gash was closed, the bark smooth as skin. No one laughed this time. By sunset, the whispers were back stronger, faster, impossible to place. The group huddled near the fire. Maya clutched her phone, recording the sound. "Listen," she said, playing it back. Static, then a voice, clear as breath. "Leave." Henry went pale. "Who said that?" "Not us," Sarah said. "Not anyone human." "Oh, called." Alex grabbed a flashlight. "This is stupid. Someone's hiding out there messing with us." He stormed toward the woods, ignoring their calls. His beam swung wildly between the trees, then stopped. A wet cracking sound split the night. The flashlight fell, still on, showing nothing but empty leaves. Alex didn't come back. At dawn, Maya's tent stood open. Her phone lay half buried in sand, still recording. Static. Footsteps. Her shaky voice. "The trees are moving, oh my God." A scream. A loud snap. Then a whisper, almost tender. "One stays." Henry threw the phone into the fire. "We're leaving. Now." They packed fast, not speaking. The forest seemed to press closer with every step toward the shore. The air buzzed with voices laughing, sobbing, calling their names. "Don't listen," Sarah said, but she was already listening. Between the whispers, she could swear she heard Alex's voice begging them to run. They broke through to a new clearing. The trees here were slick, with red sap that oozed like blood. "What the hell?" Zach touched one trunk. The sap clung to his fingers, warm. Before anyone could move, the tree shuddered. Faces rippled through its bark. Eyes, mouths, screaming without sound. Zach stumbled back. Roots burst from the ground, wrapping his legs, dragging him down. "Henry!" Sarah shouted. They pulled, but the roots tightened like rope. Zach's scream faded as the earth swallowed him whole. The forest fell silent again. Only Sarah and Henry remained. They ran until they saw the beach through the fog. The boat was still there, half buried in wet sand. They shoved it into the water, the tide pulling against them. Behind, the whispers rose to a roar. "Don't look back!" Henry gasped. Sarah couldn't help it. She turned. The forest glowed faintly red. Among the trees stood tall, human-shaped figures, bodies fused with bark. Watching, one of them looked like Maya. The island let out a sound deep, low, like the breath of something enormous. Then the fog swallowed it all. Hours later, they reached the mainland. Neither spoke. They left the boat drifting and drove in silence through the night. But as the tires rolled over the bridge, Sarah heard a whisper through the open window. "You can leave the island, but it won't leave you." She shut the window. The whisper stayed. Weeks passed. The others stopped answering her texts. Henry's number disconnected. News sites mentioned a missing hiker, Zach's photo. No one believed her when she tried to explain. One stormy night, Sarah woke to whispering again. Her window was open. Rain blew in. She stepped to close it and froze. On the windowsill lay a small bracelet, Maya's. Wet sand clung to it. Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number," she answered. Static. Then a voice she knew. "Sarah." The line went dead. Outside, something scraped across the siding like branches in the wind. Except there was no wind. She pulled the curtain aside. A tree stood at the curb, black and dripping, though no tree had ever been there before. Water pooled around its roots, spreading up the driveway. As she stared, the bark moved. Faces formed in the wood, Zach, Maya, Alex. Eyes opened, mouths parted in silent cries. The streetlight flickered once, twice, then went out. When it came back, the tree was gone. Only wet footprints led from the road to her porch. By morning, Sarah was gone too. A neighbor watering her plants later swore she heard voices on the wind, soft and rhythmic, like someone whispering names. But the weather was calm. No wind, no waves, just the faint smell of salt in the air, and a single wet footprint on the grass.